Namaste, my friend. How are you doing? Today is the lesson which will change your life if you really listen to it, reflect on it, digest this knowledge, and live in it. Listening and learning intellectual understanding is very easy because everyone has an intellect. But to contemplate and reflect, that helps you to assimilate this knowledge. And what is the meaning of assimilation? That you start living into that knowledge. Living into that knowledge that your behavior and attitude changes. Majority of the people wants to prove that they know it. What they know it? Anger is bad, anxiety is not good, and stress, to live in the stress definitely is the worst. They know it. But they live in anxiety, anger, and frustration. Why? Why? Because my mind wants to prove. It does not want to live beyond the anger, anxiety, and the frustration. In a society where I'm sitting with people, so there I want to prove. So some sort of the little ego is constantly working. No, no, I don't have an expectation and I'm frustrated. What it means? I'm upset, but I'm proving that, see that how I'm relaxed. How can you have an expectation and remain relaxed? So intellectual understanding is one thing that is very good, but we want to prove that, we want to know to the society and to the world. Does the sun wants to prove that it gives the light and heat to every being on this earth planet? Tell me. That is the nature of a seeker. So today we will reflect on the life of the Buddha. We are also living the life of a Buddha. But now question comes where the way he lived before becoming a seeker, we want to live into that state, or as a seeker for 6 or 7 years, he lived the life of a seeker. Second option, and the third option, after the life of a seeker, he became the Siddha, what is known as Buddha, and awake. It is not Buddha, as we Americans say. The Buddha means the old guy. It is Sanskrit word or Hindi word. So when we say Buddha, it means awakened. It means awake. So the three stages in the life, you can categorize the life of the Buddha, and we draw similarities. Imagine a golden bird raised in the case of jewels, never knowing the vast sky beyond. This was the Prince Siddhartha, whose earlier name was Buddha, whose earlier name was Buddha's earlier name was Siddhartha. living in a palace of endless pleasures. His father, like a jealous gardener, trying to protect a delicate flower, created a world of artificial perfection around the young prince. Cages. I have a golden cage. I'm living in a golden cage. What is that golden cage of pleasure? Coming from expectations, avoiding pain. Why want to have a house, clothes, etc. These are the basic needs, and it will meet my physical survival. It is good to have it. But to compare it with others begins the journey of a delusion and expectation, and it causes lot of. But why I compare? Because I want to prove. Why I want to prove? Because I have a subtle ego. But why I have a subtle ego? It does not exist. So I exist in the false eye. Result is frustration, anger, and anxiety. Or you are, or we are misguided by the people near and dear to us. Siddhartha was misguided. In fact, his father told all the near and the dear ones who were living with the Siddhartha, he has yet to awaken, he has yet to become a seeker. So that's why I'm using the word Siddhartha. So he warned all the friends, servants, that Siddhartha should not see any kind of pleasure, any kind of pain, discomfort, any event of frustration, anger, old age, etc. I call it that he created a Las Vegas in his kingdom only for the Siddhartha, where you have the young people, young girls, young boys were there, young army was there, young servants were there, all full of energy. So, what impression the Siddhartha will get it that everything is rosy in this world. You'll be surprised that for 15 years he was not exposed to any old guy, any dead person. Nobody talked to him that, oh, you will, one day everyone has to die. But his mind was constantly saturated with all kinds of pleasure. So you can say the Las Vegas or Sin City. We talk of also the Sin City. Pleasure always comes with the sin. We will talk later. Pleasure comes with an awareness. Oh, oh no, pain. Pain comes with understanding. Oh, pain is coming. Let me see what expectations I have. You start thinking in your mind. Even if some of your friend and near dear ones talks about it and you feel a kind of a frustration. Instead of getting more frustrated, it is very important that I should start thinking through my intellect because I have a frustration because of expectation, because of the little ego, because of that is why I have an anxiety, and the life will change. What you have learned for the last 4 years, it will be assimilated, digested, and you are returning into that field of peace and happiness. But if we are seeking peace and happiness in the Sin City, in Las Vegas, it is not possible. This world is like Las Vegas. Oh, you are doing meditation and still you are agitated and frustrated. Knowledge is not assimilated. I want to prove that I'm doing something. Are you getting it? But in the life of the Buddha, this thing happens. We are misguided by the people near and dear. They are living in frustration. They hide their frustration and anxiety and reaction. And then they start guiding us. Why they start guiding us? Because I am frustrated. Why I am frustrated? Because I have an expectations and the little ego wants to prove that I am something. Why I want to prove? Like this sun. Do you see a subtle nature of the mind causes lot of challenges? That is why the teacher in the Eastern wisdom continues to guide. It presents the topic in variety of ways so that you are inspired and motivated. Today we are not doing a practice, we are trying to understand. So the three stages of the life of the Buddha, that is what we are trying to understand. Or you can say the three or four stages of the life of the Buddha, or Buddha or Siddhartha. So I made a distinction. The first, you can say the first stage is birth and an astrologer, like this. He was not at all aware, he was just born. Second, the second stage is the life of a life of his sin and pleasures. Third stage, it took him 6 years to become a seeker. And the fourth stage is awakened life. And you can add another fifth stage, is teaching and helping millions. Why I have taken an example of the Buddha, is very famous and it becomes very easy for us to correlate. You know the six stages. So after he got awakened, because his knowledge is digested and assimilated in his life, so now the situation comes, his near and the dear ones. I will narrate that. I will tell you the story. His near and dear ones. Oh, look at this guy. The monk is there, naked. He doesn't even have the sandals to walk on the forest and walk on the street. What kind of a practice you are doing? And what Siddhartha answered, it tells you that he was not only a seeker, but he was awakened. That needs to be understood to wash out all our frustration, expectation, anger, and anxiety. I believe you're getting it. So, can we change the destiny? We have seen it. In the first days, he was just born, totally unconscious. He did not know whether he was born in a kingdom in the king family or not, but an astrologer was there. So in those days, astrologer, uh, palmists were invited to see and predict. So the astrologer predicted of Buddha was not knowing. He was listening to say, but he was just born. Either he will become a great monk, he will enlighten millions of people, or he will become one of the greatest king of your kingdom. But the chances are there that he will become a master. And that made his father furious. You see how the outer situation unfolds. The parents with which we were born, the country in which we are born, with the siblings we are born, it is unfolding the situation, conditions in our life. It happens to everyone. So that is why this real life story says the astrologer. So think in that way. Forget about the astrologer. The parents with which you are born, their attitude. I didn't know. I didn't have the choice to be born in a specific family, in a country, in a place, at a particular time. And he got awakened. So the entire journey you can look at in the form of a destiny. So the question comes, can we change the destiny? Answer is yes, we can change the destiny by knowledge. We cannot change the destiny by ignorance. So his father created a Las Vegas from the day one he was born. This is the place, location, boundary where no old guy, no diseased, no person who is suffering with the mental or emotional disorders. There should not be any talk of a birth in the death, frustration or a disease or an anger. Girls, wine, everything was available there. So even the guards were chosen selectively. They were quite young, energetic. They never talked of any frustration as if the world is full of roses and blessings. His father created that situation. That is why I'm using the word Las Vegas in sensitive. Many good attitude causes suffering in our daily life. I'm also explaining simultaneously, we are learning the story. What good? I have a good attitude. You have a good attitude, behavior, and a good action. You don't want to harm anyone. You don't want to you don't want to react to anyone. But if we do not think, feel, and promote goodness, we feel as if we are not living. I did the practice of meditation, and then my mind says, I will promote it to my friends that I practiced meditation. So, promoting meditation has become more important to me than practicing and reflecting whether I have changed or not. So then what happens? Then everyone who is near and dear to you, will definitely create problem, reaction. We don't need promotion, recognition, marketing. I told you, his son does not need that marketing, but what to do with our little ego? And that little ego destroys everything because it is seeking a recognition. After the meditation, I'm solely relaxed and calm, and then I become angry and agitated because you are not meeting my expectations. So, meditation did not change me. Whose fault it is? Anyhow, let us continue the journey of Siddhartha. It's better to understand. Imagine being dropped into a play. Imagine dropped into a play in the middle of the game, and you are expected to act without knowing your role or the script. Why I'm saying, see, that is our birth. We arrive without choice or foreknowledge of our circumstances. How my parents will raise me, I don't know. How my siblings will behave with me, I don't know. In which country I'm born, communism, democracy, I don't know. The uncontrollable beginning is there in our life, in everyone's life. We enter without choosing our parents, siblings, genetic makeup, or socio-economic condition. Think, imagine, you have to go back. Like a tree sprouting from a seed planted by chance, we grow in an environment we don't select. Our initial experiences of joy and the suffering are largely determined by the factors beyond our control. And that creates millions of impressions in our mind. Maybe you can say until the age of 14, 15, 16, or 18 years of age. picture, picture life as a complex tapestry. The existing pattern, our current circumstances, is the result of the threads woven in the past, those impressions that I carry forward from the past, karma. While each new stretch we make contributes to the future life. Our present experiences, relationship, challenges are the fruits of our past karma. You are always seeking the guidance from the person of a wisdom. And the person of the wisdom, you tell the person of the wisdom that you are frustrated, anger, and you have a lot of challenges. That person of the wisdom accepts your challenges, problems, with kindness, with the humility, with the motive of helping, guiding, changing you. And there is another one near and the dear one. You are saying the same thing. Did you understand what I'm saying? They don't know how to solve their problem, and then they blame and complain you. Each thought, word, and the deed in the present moment is like planting a seed that will grow into the future experiences. Our reactions to current situations, whether with peace or hesitation, are creating new impressions in my life. Sorry, I have certain hiccups, so but I'm good. I'm okay. Do we have a power of choice? But don't forget the story of the Siddhartha is still living in the Las Vegas in the Sin City, where he only see the pleasures, no frustration. He does not know whether there is a death after the birth, whether there is a growth in the old age. He does not know whether there is a disease after all of the body and the mind. Just visualize that you're a gardener. You can't control the soil you start with. Means your birth, circumstances, siblings, parents, situation, but you can choose what to plant. and how to tend your garden. Siddhartha is still unaware. How many years of the life we were unaware to make a right choice, tell me. We met when we were 55 or 50, no, 60 years old. We can't change our past actions, but we can definitely change the impact of our past actions. We have the power to shape our future through our present choices by understanding the law of karma. I'm just explaining the law of the karma. By giving example of the Buddha, we can make a conscious decision to act with wisdom and compassion. So that was the first almost 15, 16 years of his Siddhartha life was full of roses, no thorns, full of pleasure, no pain, because he didn't know what is pain. You have a pain? No, that is not a pain. And I give you some doses of intoxication because, have you seen that those people who take 4 or 5 packs, they don't worry about it. That was the Siddhartha life in up to 15, 16, or you can say 18 years because he got married and he had a kiddos. Until then, I'm talking about. Even his father chose the wife who has the same bent of the mind. They both were living in Sin City. Now, our Siddhartha lived a life of luxury, pleasure, since he was not aware of the harsh realities of the life, that the pain, sickness, frustration, and anger makes an entry from the back door. I can still choose the pleasure, but I ignore that pain, discomfort, expectation, and reaction. So when I ignore it, continues to accumulate in our life and it has to manifest. So that is what is manifesting in our life when we get angry or upset or frustration. When I when we blame ourselves that I have yet to change. So I have not purified the mind. I have not contemplated, reflected. I have not digested. Are you getting it? Summarize it and send me the note. What you have understood. So life of luxury Siddhartha lived. And more or less, we can also say in America is a great country, obviously. So we live that life of the luxury. In other countries also, those who are rich, they also live the same kind of life. Their America is their country because they are rich. They have all the amenities available just at the tip of their finger. Now the Siddhartha recognized that as if he's living in a cage, someone told the world is so immense, world of millions of people. In those days, only millions of people were existing, so millions of living beings. The world is so beautiful. So he has all the means to see how the world is beautiful. So he says, no, I have to visit my kingdom of my father. to see really the world is beautiful. We get when we are in attachment with a lot of expectations are fulfilled, we create a sense of pleasure around us. We think, the world is full of roses. We don't care what comes from the back door of frustration, expectation, and it comes from the little ego. I've already explained you in the beginning. Anyhow, so he chose to visit his kingdom. So in those days, there was no car. There was a horse cart and the driver of the horse cart, charioteer. So while horse cart was moving, he was sitting like a prince. He saw a guy, an old guy, old man. But he did not know whether one becomes old or not. Can you imagine a shock? We get shock every day and still we don't want to change. We continue to keep our expectations alive. It is with all of us, including me also. So anyhow, he saw the old man and he asked the driver, "Who's this?" Huh? You see how difficult to face the frustration, expectations, and how difficult it is to reveal the truth. So the driver said, "Your father told me not to say anything negative pertaining to the suffering and the pain, but I cannot prevent saying the truth today because everyone has to become the old. Because that old guy was walking with a stick and a crippled, deformed body was very difficult to walk." Siddhartha mind not only digested, assimilated, reflected that knowledge, will I also become old? There is no choice. I had an expectations from you and I got frustrated. I have understood. Now from today, no more expectations from the world. No more attachment. Can we do it? I'm just drawing a parallel so that you remind yourself at the moment. Oh, so now the horse cart was moving into the kingdom of the prince. Then he saw a sick person constantly coughing, and he was not able to walk. And a couple of his relations, his wife and his father, was deeply concerned and sad and crying. But they said, "What is this? What is this? Why they are crying? What happened?" Driver said, "You know, my king, my master told me not to tell you anything, but now you have seen it, you have witnessed it. I cannot prevent telling you the fact that this body cannot remain healthy all the time. The health and the disease constantly interchange themselves because of our attitude, because also I lived a life of a pleasure and I exceeded the pleasure in my life while living in the sin city. Do you think that it will have its own impact and reaction?" The old driver said, "Yes, Prince. I'm sorry to say, but yes, one example in the modern life, we love sugar in the child. Sugar is nectar in the child while eating the ice, putting lot of them into the coffee. And after a certain age, the doctor examines and say, come on a borderline. Now you start eating, you'll have a problem. Return home. Now my mind says sugar is a poison. I struggle not to take it and still I take it. That is the effect of my expectations and the pleasure. So Siddhartha reflected again, my God, where you have put me into a palace of luxuries and the pleasures and the sensity. I exceeded all those pleasures. He started thinking, now the time has come to stop it. Horse cart was still moving further. He saw a dead body. In India, do you know that you may not remember, you can see the videos. When the person dies, normally we, if the cremation ground is very near, say for a kilometer or a mile, so we start with a procession. So if someone dies, the important person dies, we have a big procession on the car, open car. Open. So there we carry that dead body with the four people, with a bamboo bed. So everyone carries that. Four people carries on their shoulder, especially the near and the dear ones. So it is a tradition that as if they are supporting in the last journey of that. A lot of people crying. Dead body was a procession of the dead body was there. He had never seen it. Can you imagine? We want that kind of a life where I should not see the pain, expectation, reaction, anger, anxiety, duality, and a conflict. Nobody should insult me. Nobody should. I get insulted because of my expectations, because of my attachment, because of my little ego. So, anyhow, Buddha has asked the old guy, what happened to this now? Driver defined what it means by a dead person. The body stopped working completely. He cannot listen. He cannot use his sense organ. He cannot sit up and stand up. He cannot eat, and etc. etc. Because it was the first encounter with the death. Buddha said, will I also be dead? Driver said, no one can prevent. You can postpone, you can delay, but death of the body cannot be prevented. Why I was not told by my dad. So my dad, who is the king, put me into such a great delusion. He did not allow me to face the realities of the life. Are you getting it? So over that subtle ego is the king sitting in us. And that ego wants to create a world of its own, avoid and escape all the pain and the frustration. But my action, my thought, speech, and action coming out of that little ego causes the problem. So I'm not able to understand it. Are you getting it? So he encountered an old man, bent and wrinkled like an ancient tree. This was the old days. a concept as foreign to the prince as snow in a desert. Next, he saw a sick person, a body, a battleground of pain and disease. And the dead body, the horse cart was moving, and then he saw a person in a small hut on the side of a street, sitting in meditation with orange colored robes. Who is this guy? Buddha. Siddhartha asked. No, he was not Buddha now. He was Siddhartha only. Driver said he has realized that this world is full of pleasure, pain, profit, loss, reaction, anger, anxiety, frustration, health, sickness. So he has chosen a path to discover his real nature through different practices, including meditation. Wow, Buddha had a wow moment. Can you imagine after 18 years of living a luxurious life, he could drop all his expectations from the pleasure, living in the sin city, and his mind said, wow. So there are rare people who can digest, assimilate the knowledge so quickly, so clearly, like the Siddhartha. He didn't speak out anything to the driver of the horse cart, the charioteer. These sights were like lightning bolts illuminating the dark sky of his ignorance. They revealed the harsh realities of the life that had been hidden from him, much like the sun reveals the true colors of the objects at dawn, not at dusk. So you see the three events of frustration, anger, anxiety, or fear, whatever you say, and one event of the hope. My dear friend, only one event. Did I not say you are of the nature of peace and happiness? Amid all kinds of frustration, expectations, ignorance, frustration, anger, and hesitation are not the answers. So I explained you the first part of his first stage of, no, second stage of the first was the birth, and where his father wanted to change his destiny, not to become a monk, but become a king. So that so he created all the situations of the pleasure, so he would remain stick to all kinds of the pleasure, and pleasure is available to the king only. But he lived that life of luxury and the ignorance and the frustration, but he got frustrated. His frustration went, dissolved, disappeared the moment he saw the hope in a person meditating at the corner. Can you imagine what happened? He had this son. He had his beautiful wife. In the mid of the night, he looked at the sun, he looked at the wife, no more sensual pleasure, no more attachment. If the monk is searching for the reality of the truth of life, I am also going, I'm leaving all kinds of pleasure. He left the palace. So that palace we have created in our life. You are my sister. I come to you and I talk to you. Give me some solace. Fulfill my expectation. This is the palace that I have created. So I'm more concerned giving you give me some kind of a comfort rather than searching the comfort within. Did you get it? That is why the Buddha left the palace because he realized that his dad is not going to leave him. Rather, he will start torturing him. If you don't go to the pleasure, if you don't live in the sin city, I'll throw you. So it is a symbolic, more a symbolic, or whether it happened in reality, that too is a message. We need not to leave the house. We need to drop that impurity of the mind from the mind while living at the same place. That is very important. For 6 years, he lived in extreme penance. He did all the crazy practices of which even the modern world is mesmerized. Oh, this look at this monk who is not eating for the last 20 years. Really? Let us go and see. It amazes me, it mesmerizes me, but I'm not going to practice. So he encountered, Siddhartha encountered with lot of crazy masters who misguided, but then something happened. He lived in extreme pleasure in the sin city. That was also a destiny. Whether he can endure the extreme patient endurance. Can he endure fasting for days together? Can he endure sleeping on the floor? That is what some of the masters ordered him to do to become a monk. And that happened for 6 years. So what happens, that are you looking at how the destiny is taking its shape? From the first stage of the birth and the astrologer prediction and the king put him into the sin city. Second stage, he lived a life of luxury, pleasure. He did not know what is death, sickness, health, etc., etc. And then the third stage is that look at the destiny, how it takes the shape. King wanted to change the destiny, but it cannot be changed. But then he made a choice by encountering the four events: a sick man, a dead, and the old guy. And the fourth is he saw the monk. So he recognized these three is not the way. I should need not to be frustrated. I'm not old. I'm still young. I'm not sick. I'm I'm okay. So instead of choosing and getting frustrated, he chose therefore, oh, let me find out what is the truth. He left the kingdom that started his another stage of his life. So he made a radical decision to leave behind his life of luxury. Can I leave the life of expectations from today, a life of attachment to someone? It has to be done mentally in your mind, not outside. Your son knocks the door, you welcome him. Oh, would you like to take a cup of tea and a coffee? Yes. Internally, you don't have any expectation. You offer him a cup of tea or you offer him a breakfast and done. Now I'm going, Mom. Yes, thank you. We'll see you soon. I don't create any impression. So Siddhartha made a radical decision to leave behind his life of luxury. He abandoned his royal life, his family, his son, all material possessions to seek answers to the life profound questions. Before Buddha, before Siddhartha, there were thousands of the master did the same thing in a different way. You have to listen for a little longer period today. So you see the extreme pleasure in the sensity and extreme challenges to the body and the mind. He was sleeping on the floor, he was fasting only one meal a day, and then he left the meal, he was reduced to skeleton. So those pleasures which he enjoyed in ignorance and in delusion, the impact of those pleasures were washed away by the extreme penance. Sometime we need to do it. So you look at this, how the destiny is taking the shape in the life of Siddhartha, who became the Buddha. 6 years passed, now another stage. But I would love to narrate that story. It's such a wonderful state. So under the master, one master, I forgot the name. If I remember, I'll tell you the name of the master. There were six, yeah, there were perhaps six disciples or five, including the Buddha. With whom he practiced all the austerity and penance. So sometimes we need to know I will not have any expectations from anyone outside. I will go outside, I will have a company in this society, and I will just express myself in the calmness and the peace. Anyhow, so all the were five completed their austerity, their practices of, a lot of practices of yoga and the tantra and the mantra, etc., meditation. And they were not given any food because it was one meal a day on that given day. So what happened? He went a little further and sat under a tree full of branches, leaves, and the fruits. And his mind said, I'm so calm and relaxed. But when I do the fasting, for unnecessary reason, I'm torturing my body. When I'm sleeping on the floor full of thorns and pebbles, I get hurt. I don't get the sleep. Is there any need for it? I should not oversleep. That is a problem. I should not overeat. That is a problem. But just to torture the body is not the way. He never left contemplation, reflection. He was assimilating the knowledge, and he went one step above his current master. Because that current master was always obsessed with these austerities, fasting, sleeping on the floor. Because of his ego, he became very famous in the society. Well, Siddhartha recognized, I need not to have any expectations from others. I don't want to prove that I am calm. I am calm, that's okay. People will notice it. So he recognized, and that was a transition point to say goodbye to that master also. But so another destiny. So a beautiful girl. There is a tradition that on a full moon, if you prepare a sweet dessert with the rice, milk, sugar, cream, etc., then your life many desires will be fulfilled. And if you offer it to the monks, so all the five monks were there, including the Siddhartha. So she cooked that dessert, and he went to the first disciple, first of his friend. He refused. My master told me, I am in austerity, I will not take, even though he had the saliva coming from his tongue. So, do you see the struggle inside and outside? Same thing happened with all the four disciples, and at last he went to the Siddhartha and he said, oh, thank you, lady. And he ate that. He said, no more fasting. That causes more frustration, reaction. No more holding myself and seeking my expectations to be fulfilled from the others. I'm giving a twist to the real life story of the Siddhartha. I'm customizing it. Next is, so the transition was going on. He becomes his own teacher. Siddhartha becomes his own teacher. How? Because you assimilate, you contemplate and reflect on that knowledge again and again and again. And then you had an awakening, which he had an awakening sitting under a tree. He said, calmness. For the sake of calmness, I'm sleeping on the ground. For the sake of peace and happiness, I'm torturing the body, not eating the food for a week and etc. I'm doing so many hard postures, which gives me so much pain. My mind is totally engrossed in the pain. And is this the way? Or using the body according to its limit? That limitation as a choice helps you drop your expectations and attachment. Do you see that? And that is why he accepted the dessert from the beautiful girl. How the four of his friends thought of it. Look at this. He has left all the practices because he left. Master said that we have to fast today, and he had eaten it. And he was smiling under the tree with that girl. You see how the false perception is created by those who do not understand the Eastern wisdom. I will finish the story and then I will take it in a different way that what he taught in our next journey. So now the two stages are also left. Then the master said, now you are not, you are no longer my student. You can leave. At the same time, another master was passing through and he recognized the control, the self discipline of the Buddha, the Siddhartha. He said, you come with me. And he thanked the previous master. Why he thanked the previous master? Because he knew he is already prepared. He is already awakened inside, but he does not know. For that, I have to ask him to sit in a meditation under a tree, and he got awakened. He got awakened. So, can you imagine? So, what he did after the awakening? There are many issues because he continued to follow the discipline. But he remembered his early childhood, adolescence, marriage in the sun, Sin City, Las Vegas, because he got awakened. He had now no more expectations, no more attachment, no more delusion. So nobody can make him crazy, reactive, frustrated, angry, agitated. His mind is not going to blame how many years he has practiced. He forgot those 6 years he practiced penance uh, in the presence of the first master because he recognized, he realized. Can you think that where he went first? First, he went to the kingdom. Why? He wanted to live into that kingdom? No. So his dad, who was becoming old, his wife, his son, waiting at the door, waiting at the main gate. Oh, father thought my son is coming. Son thought my dad is coming. Wife thought that my honey is coming. They were waiting at the main gate. With all the flower and gifts and etc. The Buddha looked at all of them and he smiled. Father became very sarcastic. That is what happens those who do not know the Eastern wisdom. I know you lived your life of endurance and austerity. You were sleeping on the floor. You were eating once a day. Even that monk who was your master and who is your master does not have the means to give you the food, to give you the luxury bed. Buddha was listening and smiling. I can bet you when you reach to that state, still the people will react to you in this way. So his father was, and he was smiling. But anyhow, you defied my orders. You did not live into that density, but still I can accept you provided you remove all the robes of a monk and enter into it and become a king of this kingdom. I'm becoming old. Do you see all his statements are full of attachment and expectations from others? So, son, so his wife. A man, a person who is a great seeker, who assimilated, digested the knowledge, his thought, speech, and action are very much measured. It comes naturally. Buddha smiled and said that, honey, son, I have not come to you to return to the kingdom and the take over as a king of this kingdom. I have not come here in the kingdom, honey, to be accepted as the husband who is always looking for all kinds of pleasure from his wife. Son, I have not returned to the kingdom to remain attached with you and force you to follow the way my dad forced me to follow. You see his measured response. So then all the three were waiting for his answer. I have recognized and realized that permanent peace, happiness, love, truth, and wisdom. I have understood why the world is the cause of the suffering. That too is good, but he did not answer why you have come. He had already said that I have not come for all these reasons which you are thinking of. I have come to you all because I have recognized, I have realized, now I know what exactly is the way to permanent peace, happiness, love, truth, and wisdom. Instead, I follow you all, you follow me. Do we have that sense of conviction inside our head to say, I'm in peace, I'm in happiness, I'm in joy? I have no expectations from the world around. Mom, son, daughter, brother, sister. Well, I enjoy the company, and that is why I have come to you, not to meet my expectations. Do you see the two choices? Buddha made it very clear to each and every one. None followed him. And the last phase in which his teaching, he became one of the greatest masters ever lived on this earth. But pay attention, he did not become the greatest master to be recognized by the world. He did not do anything, he did not do any marketing, promotion. He became his own teacher of his body, mind, intellect, ego, reaction, obsession. That is how he behaved. That is how he expressed. His expression became the teaching. Can I become my own teacher? Thank you.